So quick question there. There's the higher self, right? There's the, I desire to change my life to be a more compassionate, more empathetic person. So let me request Dr. Mark's help. And then there's the habitual self, the lower self, the egoic self, the one that's arrogant and then it took them decades. They have that muscle there. So when you work with quote unquote difficult, these type of people who is trying to make a change, but at the same time, the habitual self is pulling them back. How do you ensure that they are living from their higher self?
I make a distinction between guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
I think shame is an incredible motivator. So guilt, you do something wrong, you make amends. Shame is when you do something or you fail to do something that's out of alignment with who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So shame is like, I'll give you an example from my personal life. My kids are all grown. And I have 3 kids, and I was especially close to my middle child because my oldest child was close to mom. And I used to go to every practice that my middle child would go to. And I try to be present because I could feel that connection. And at the time, I was this therapist helping families and listening and empathic and all that. And I needed to practice what I preach. And so there was one practice that I blew off. I had something to do, and I said, I rationalized, it's just a practice. It's not a game. And my wife called me and she said, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes when you come home. And I said, why? And she said, because our daughter kept looking at you to come into the gymnasium and you never came. She kept staring at the door and you never came, and you told her you would.
Mm.
So I do what a lot of dads did. I went to some toy store and bought her a bribe. So I come home, and there's my daughter, and she was about 7. And I go into her room, and I looked at her, and I said, I told you I would come to your practice, and I didn't come. I didn't tell you the truth. And she's looking at me, picture a 7-year-old, and you'll see this when you have kids. She's going like this. She's fighting tears. "Ma, ma." And I could just see the love and disappointment in her face.
Mm.
And I looked at her and I said, look at me. And she's just crying like this. And I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm never going to tell you I promise to do anything, because I want you to believe that a promise from your dad you can count on.
Mm.
You can count on it 150%.
Mm.
So I'm never going to promise you things. What I will say at anything is I'll try and have a good track record. But I want you to realize that a promise from your dad you can count on. And I'm sorry. And then I gave her the little doll. She still wouldn't let me off the hook. And then the next morning she goes to school and I go into her bedroom and there's the doll in the trash can. Mm. So what I'm saying is, now some people listening to this will say, why'd you have him on? But that shame I felt that I disappointed someone who loved me so deeply, so trusted me.